Hello to all my friends and colleagues, both acquaintances and strangers, working in sound post-production. Greetings to everyone who works with sound for films, TV series, animation or simply sound design. What I want to talk about today is directly related to the speed and convenience of our workflow. Let me introduce you to a tool for quickly creating highly unique, multi-layered sound effects that are randomized across multiple parameters. IteMob Placer.
Let's start with the simplest and most common task. I have a person walking in a movie, and I want to add steps to him. Here I found a good example of steps in the library. How do we usually solve this problem? We just cut this file into individual steps and sync them to each step in the video. Taking step 1, move it, and sync it. Take step 2, sync it. Take step number 3, sync it. But as we can see, it's way too long. IteMob Placer, I'll call it IMP for short, offers its own way to quickly sync audio with video. I slice up the steps using Reaper's built-in silence removal tool, resulting in 14 individual items, load them into IMP using the getSelectedItems as events function, and there they are, 14. I'll explain what events are a little later. Next, I use the recording shortcut, mine is backspace, to add the steps to the timeline. There are several ways to do this. The first is to simply launch playback and press the shortcut in sync with the video on the fly. The second method, and this is my favorite, is to simply hold down the middle mouse button, the mouse wheel, which I have assigned to constantly move the edit cursor around the timeline along with the video rewind, hover over each step, and press the recording shortcut. This method is the fastest due to the almost complete absence of sync errors. The third method is to first set up Razor edits and then press the recording shortcut once. This is handy when you need to set up multiple steps at once. That's it. I hope it's obvious that this is much faster and more convenient than sync up each step manually. And that was the simplest task, now it's gonna be even more interesting. So, what is IteMob Placer? It's a script for Reaper, as everyone has already figured out, and it only works in Reaper. It's similar to a sampler, but it's quite different. In my opinion, it has only a couple of drawbacks, so let's point them out right away. First, the script runs discretely, meaning it updates at a rate of approximately 33 frames per second. Therefore, the error in real-time operation, such as recording steps during playback, is plus a frame or a half. For musical purposes, this is too much, but for us, working with video, where the discreteness is already 1 frame, this is not a big problem, and besides, when recording in any other way, everything is set with sample accuracy. The second issue is the inaccurate preview. It may differ slightly from what will appear on the timeline. For example, the preview can't play an item with FX on it, or a looping sound will have an audible transition at the loop. But the preview is quite accurate in other cases. So, it's not that big of a deal. But there are a ton of advantages. Perhaps the most important one is that I can place the sound before the shortcut is pressed. For example, I have a punch for a fight that has a swing and a strike. I want to sync not to the swing or the start of the sound, but to the strike. Then I set a snap offset point on the item, which is a standard Reaper function, loaded into the IMP, and when recording, we see that the sound is synced to this snap offset. No sampler will let you start a sound before the start of the MIDI note it's synced to. IMP makes this easily. The second advantage is that there are no MIDI notes, no MIDI to audio conversion, as with a sampler, no audio export or import, as with external programs. We get instant results in the form of ready-made sounds on the timeline. That's it. Another strength of IMP is a specially created algorithm for randomizing events appearance that are as unique as possible and taking into account their different numbers. You load any number of events into the IMP and don't have to worry about the order in which to place them on the timeline, they will be placed automatically in the most unique order. Now let's talk about the structure. The smallest unit of this entire structure, and I've already mentioned it, is the event. An event is what will be added to the timeline from a single set when record shortcut is pressed. I'll explain what a set is later. Events can be simple, as in this case with steps, where one item is a single event, or complex, consisting of several items. Here we see 8 groups of items arranged in 3 rows. When loaded into the IMP, the script recognizes them as 8 events, each in 3 layers. The main thing is that there should be some space between them so the script can logically separate them into events. If we want to make an event more complex, like here, where spaces won't work, then we should group the items for each event, and the script will recognize them as 4 events. The number of items in an event, as well as its complexity, are unlimited. I once uploaded my entire project, 9,000 items, as a single event, and everything worked perfectly. The probability of an event can be adjusted. This is useful when I want a certain event to appear less frequently. In this case, I set it to 50 instead of 100, and it will now appear approximately half as often. You can mute an event, which will prevent it from playing at all. There are also event parameters that can be randomized or changed. For example, I often use pitch randomization for extra variety. An event can also be cyclical. To do this, we need to create markers in the item named S, snap offset, L, cycle start, E, cycle end, and R, release. Now, when loading, the IMP recognizes the event as cyclic, and we can easily set this sound with the desired duration. Just press the recording shortcut at the beginning, hold it down, and then move it to the end, then release it. It's that simple. A machine gun burst is a special case. It has a specific firing rhythm, and to ensure the final shot doesn't deviate from this rhythm, we must set an unnamed marker for each shot. This way, when recording the event, the final shot will always be in rhythm. This same technique can be used, for example, with rhythmic music, which appears repeatedly in your film, when we want its final chord to also sound in rhythm. All loaded events form one set. The number of events in a set is unlimited. A set also has a probability. It is also possible to turn off a set. The set also has a velocity range setting, allowing you to easily create a 16-part multitimbral instrument. The set can also play not only on pressing the shortcut, but also on releasing it. So, for example, you could place fire shots in the first set and assign it to key down, press, and then put the shell drop in the second set and assign it to key up, release. Now, you can quickly and easily record a shot and the shell drop with the desired delay. The number of sets is limited to 16, they're representing a single key. Let's assume we've loaded events into all 16 sets. Then, when you press the record shortcut, which always plays the current key, one event in each of the 16 sets will be selected and recorded. Press record again, and again, and again. Each time, you get a new sound. So the sound can be as varied and dense as you need. There are 88 keys, and they make up one variant. By default, there's one main variant, in which we create the entire key structure. However, if we want the same keys but with different settings, for example, with random pitch enabled, we can create 2 or more variants. In fact, we can create completely different variants with different items, events, sets, and keys, without limitation. So, we switch to another variant, and it has a completely different structure, if required of course. The number of variants is also unlimited. You can create as many as you like. Of course, this entire cumbersome structure would be useless if we couldn't save it. Luckily, the developer has provided a browser for working with files. So, we've arrived at the final structure of this entire mess, which includes all the variants and is saved to a file with the IMP extension. There's another upper structure over IMP, quicklinks. You can load as many IMP files as you want into a single quicklink for quick access, eliminating the need to navigate through browser folders each time you need an IMP file when working on your project. You can save, load, delete, and perform other actions with IMP and QuickLink files in the browser. We're already familiar with the recording shortcut. There's also a preview shortcut, 9 in my case, which allows you to preview the current key. If you hover the mouse over another certain key, set, or event and press the shortcut, their corresponding previews will play. This means that all previews are available via a single shortcut, which is quite convenient. Also, hovering the mouse over any element of the IMP interface and pressing the Info shortcut displays its corresponding explanatory information, allowing you to interactively read the documentation for the desired element or section. You can connect a MIDI keyboard, drum pad, or even several different MIDI devices, allowing you to simultaneously record multiple keys. You can even assign MIDI buttons to different functions and IMP interface elements for quick and convenient control from a MIDI device. The key also has another small, inconspicuous parameter, mob, which allows you to create vertical or simultaneous repetitions. Let's change it to 20, change the volume randomization, pan, pitch, and position. And be sure to lower the volume. And we immediately get magic in the form of a constantly changing bunch of sounds. Imagine how long it would take to do this manually. There's also a great option to record one key per track. In the settings, we check this box, and now everything played by one key takes up just one track, making the placement of sounds on the timeline very concise. And if I set it to 500 instead of 20, recording will still take the same couple of seconds. And this time it's really hard to compare this to manual work. Plans: 1. Make incoming MIDI controllers, pitch wheel, mod wheel, and others, to control event parameters. MIDI controllers are already recognized in the IMP, but they're not yet linked. 2. Create something like an arpeggiator, that is, create the ability to repeat events at time intervals, for example, automatic walking while holding a key. 3. Add support for sends, a surround panner, and an equalizer. 4. Create a footsteps and cloth module specifically for IteMob Placer as a separate IMP file with an accompanying sound set, that is, release a ready-made solution for creating footsteps and cloth in IMP. In the future, there may be other modules for various post-production and design needs. IteMob Placer has been in active development for about a year now. I use it in almost every my project. It greatly speeds things up, especially in war films and battle scenes. Along with my work, I'm constantly testing it, adding to it, and sometimes completely rewriting large parts of it to add the necessary functionality. Now that it's reached a certain level, I've decided to announce it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments. I initially started developing it for myself and my son, and I'll continue to do so regardless of how my esteemed colleagues perceive this tool, but I'd be very pleased if it were useful to someone else. It will have a price, but very inexpensive. Requirements: Reaper for Windows, I'll test it on Mac later, and a desire to simplify your workflow. That's all. I hope the video was interesting and inspiring. Good luck to everyone, and I wish you spend less time on technical tasks in favor of pure creativity with sound. We have the most interesting profession in the world. Subscribe. I'll be waiting for you in the next video.